just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. Fire exits are clearly marked. If we do get an alarm, then it is not a test or a drill, so please do, exit in an orderly fashion or run, push it. You all have, or should have, and there's lots to go around, an A4 sheet on your seats. That contains the contact details of all the speakers this evening and other groups around Manchester who were not able to make it along tonight. So please do have a read through and get in touch if you wish. We also have a calendar of upcoming events for your information. If you've got an event that isn't on the calendar, then do let us know and we will add it. We will be publishing a public calendar of events in the near future. If you don't have a smartphone, you can send it to on Twitter, but if you don't have a smartphone, just write it down on an old-fashioned bit of paper and give it to us and we will collect more at the end. Okay, so the meeting is being live streamed. So if anyone really objects to being streamed onto the internet, then
it's pointing this way.
It is, but they might have questions. But anyway, it's being live streamed and also recorded by the camera just over there. So we'll be putting up a recording later if anyone wants to go and watch it again. Okay, so each speaker has been asked to answer a specific question, which we'll be putting up on the screen behind us as we go through. And we're going to get a 1 minute. We're going to give you guys a 1 minute warning when they've had their 4 minutes, and then at 5 minute mark, I will start to applaud. I will stand up and applaud loudly, and I'd like you all to join in so that we can, in a friendly fashion, enforce the 5 minute time limit for our speakers. Okay? And then we'll have short questions, 2 short questions after each speaker, and then a little more time for questions at the end. If we don't get to a question, again, please write it down, send it to us, and we will make sure that all the speakers receive all the questions and we'll publish all the answers. Okay. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Emma Greenwood of the Youth Strike Movement. Emma, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Emma Greenwood. I'm from the Manchester Youth Strike organisation. There's 10 of us that organise the Manchester Youth Strike. We work with the police and organisations around Manchester to try and make sure everybody gets to come and get involved. We've had 3 strikes so far. Tomorrow is the 4th strike that we're going to be holding. It is the 3rd international strike, and we are hoping to do some speaking, and then we're going to do a march around Manchester as well. We're going to try and block some of the traffic, but we're going to try and avoid blocking buses and trams. That's a mistake, but we made that mistake before we got attacked by the media. We're not doing that again. So there are 108 places in the UK taking part in the upcoming strike tomorrow, and 1,100 countries taking part. 111, that's good. 111 countries taking part in the strike. So obviously the UK have a climate emergency, which we as youth kind of climate change strikers, we think that's amazing. Obviously it's a step in the right direction. But the problem we have is it's just more words, and I think the thing we need, if we're going to see the change we want in 12 to 15 years, is those words over actions, and we need to be written into, we want it written into law that companies need to start taking responsibility, becoming more sustainable, taking responsibility of the waste they produce, and kind of thinking with more active consumerism, environmentally friendly mindset. And the other thing we want is for all of you, we want you to vote like you think about our environment. We want to start putting the environment in front of the economy. It's conscious consumerism, that is one thing that we really push, is that every single thing that you buy is making a statement to companies about what you want to see them make. So if you can go out there and maybe spend an extra £10 on a t-shirt that is made from ethical cotton, it's these little changes that send a message to big powerful companies about what we want, because if we stop spending money on cheaper clothes like ones from Primark, they'll start seeing that there's a different consumer demand, and they will change to that because we have the power and they just respond to what we buy. So we work with a lot of decision makers and politicians to try and get young people to engage with their politicians. When we've seen the young people message their MPs or message the local mayors, councils, they tend to be a lot more responsive to young people, because it's quite surprising when you see young people getting involved in politics. And that's something we really want to push, not only because it's amazing that young people get involved in politics in such a young age, because that means they'll vote when they get to that age and it can influence the political system, but also because if you get your MP involved, they personally might start to see that environmental change, and then they can start enforcing that in the way they vote in Parliament. Over the summer, because obviously a lot of us aren't going to be in school, we're going to have the 6 weeks off, we're going to try and do some fundraising activities. So we've got some projects we want to do, whether it's litter picking throughout Manchester. We also want to try and work with Andy Burnham to try and get more greenery or Piccadilly Gardens. So obviously it's got the grass, but we've seen the plans of what we originally wanted it to look like, and there's going to be beautiful trees and bushes and colourful flowers. And obviously when we saw that as a group, we really, really wanted to see that put into place now. So we're going to try and do some fundraising as a Youth Strike organisation and try and work with the Manchester Council to get that put into place. As well as that, we're going to try and get more places throughout Greater Manchester as a whole involved in the strike. So obviously because the Manchester Central ones become so big, we want to see if we can branch off to maybe smaller ones in areas where maybe people can't make it to Manchester because it's not as easily accessible. And we want to try and branch out to them and make sure that every young person who wants to get involved, if they can't make it to the strike, can obviously still get involved, whether that's over the summer or through a different means or way over online and things like that. So that is what we do. We are an organisation that is trying to make a statement to those in power that we don't want them to start. We want them to start putting our future first, and we want them to start putting the economy in front of the environment. That's it.
So, can I ask you to think about questions? And I will enforce it. No more than 3 sentences. We're not looking for speeches from the floor or concise questions for Emma. Chap at the back.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask Emma if the Youth Strike for Parliament has any inclinations to get unions to strike in solidarity.
Yes, we've been, for a while now, we've been speaking with the pension, or I don't know the technical word for it, pension thing in Manchester, about them striking for them funding oil rigs and petrol places and things like that, and that's been brought up at a lot of meetings. So we are definitely planning on getting more organisations involved and unions to try and obviously strengthen it with different generations coming along, because we don't just want it to be Youth Strike just for young people. We want people to bring their really young kids too, to kind of older grandparents and things, because it has to be that cross-generational change in order for that to be the change within the 12 to 15 years that we need.
This is a question from Fran, but she's off the board. She wants to know if you are planning on closing roads and things like that.
We are planning on closing the roads.
Question, please, because we didn't hear.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
It's a question from Fran, but she's lost her voice.
The question is whether the youth strikers are planning to close any roads.
Yeah. So we are planning to try and block the road to cars. We don't want to block the bus lanes because we want to leave that open for ambulances, so emergency vehicles, and also the buses, obviously, because that's more environmental than public transport, and also the tram lines, we want to try and keep them clear. But cars, we are trying to make a disruption. We have spoken to the police, and we have booked it in advance, so we don't want to aggravate them, we don't want people to get arrested and things like that. So we've worked with them, we've planned a route, which we know we're going to do tomorrow. So, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to, sorry, if you've got a question, if you can write it down.
Okay.
Maybe we'll start with it. Okay, so move on. I'd like to introduce Claire Stocks, who's a member of Extinction Rebellion Manchester.
Right, and my question was, how can the disruption help with the nitty-gritty of not just declaring a climate emergency, but making sure policies are implemented? And I think really it's about 3 things, about having clear, bold demands, which clearly we've got, and I'll tell you about them in a sec. It's about not stopping till they're met, and that's where mass civil disobedience comes in. And given that I think this is relevant to Greater Manchester, it's about doing that in coalition, collaboration with other groups in Manchester, Greater Manchester, of which there are many, many. So those 3 demands, just really quickly in summary. The first demand of Extinction Rebellion is to tell the truth, which is often translated as declare a climate emergency. That's not gimmicks, that's not just words, that is for everyone to fundamentally acknowledge that we are in a massive environmental and climate crisis. And once you've done that, you can start talking about solutions, but until you have, you can't. Second demand is to act now. And what that means is, for the UK, if you look at the climate science and the environmental issues, we need to go carbon zero by 2025. And thirdly, the demand is to go beyond politics and for the UK government to convene a citizens' assembly to figure out how to get to that challenging target. And a citizens' assembly, in case you're not sure, it's a democratically configured body of around 100 people. It's a formal democratic process that takes a representative sample of society and asks those people to wrestle with the challenging issues that, frankly, our politicians find it very difficult to because of our bipartisan political system. So, how do they translate into Greater Manchester? The first one is we want all of the councils and the Greater Manchester Combined Authority to declare a climate emergency. The only one that has is Trafford, and that hasn't followed it through the Clear Action Plan. So that's a clear demand that hasn't yet been met on any level. The second demand on Act Now. Well, there is a Greater Manchester Environmental Plan which commits us to be carbon zero by 2038. So you might think, great, we're out of the woods on that one. And unfortunately, well-meaning it as it is, we are not. That environmental plan is fundamentally flawed. I'll give you a couple of examples, and there are many more. One is that under that plan, our carbon budget, the amount of carbon we will emit by 2038 is supposed to be 71 million tonnes. If all the measures in that plan happen, we'll be emitting 142 million tonnes. So right from the get-go, it's not enough. The second point is those emissions do not include the airport. The airport, which we own, we own the airport, the council owns the airport, so we as taxpayers own the airport. The airport currently has 28.8 million passengers flying through it a year. The plans are to grow that to 45 million by 2030. That's a 55% increase, clearly incompatible with any realistic carbon zero plan. So those are a couple of problems, and I could go on. And so on the third demand of declare a climate emergency, to convene a citizens' assembly, we believe that in Greater Manchester, or I believe in Greater Manchester, that the way to get a plan that is actually going to deal with those challenges is to convene a citizens' assembly, to look at the issues across Greater Manchester, and to ask a representative body of people to take those challenges away from the hands of politicians who haven't managed to come up with the plan, and for those people to do that. And the reason why I think we need that is that at the moment, the 2.7 million people in Greater Manchester are pretty unaware of the challenges that we face. They're unaware of the things they're going to have to do. 69,000 houses a year need to fit dramatically better insulation than they've got now. We're not talking a bit of draft exclusion, we're talking about 10, 20, 30,000 pounds of work. And that's just one example of the kinds of things that people are going to have to do. So that's why we want to convene a citizens' assembly, not just at the UK level, but I believe here in Greater Manchester. And the last point, going back to that United Front thing, I really think that if all the bodies and all the people in Greater Manchester came together to get behind a clear set of simple demands, bold demands, and using the likes of Extinction Rebellion and the climate strikers, refuse to back down until those demands were met, we might actually get somewhere. And I have some views on what I think those demands might be, but it's not really for me to say on my own, and I'd like to actually make your question that you think about tonight is what should those demands be? One of them I think should be declare an emergency, another one should be have a citizens' assembly, but what should the others be? Should it be to address that airport hypocrisy? Should it be to address air pollution? Should it be that every council department needs to have the environment written into the heart of its policy, not economic growth as it is now? Those are just some ideas, but what are yours? Thank you.
So if I could get you to confirm, to come up with a question, but try and talk to someone else, try and make it as crisp as you can. Because it's quite often finds that's a good way of sharpening up the question. Back in the white t-shirt.
I've got a question, but when we confer, I actually prefer your questions. So are you giving the summarise? Sorry? Ademar said the question was, I think along the lines, correct me if I'm wrong, was that how do we get across to people the what the changes that are required to meet like say carbon neutral in 2030? How do we get those changes in people's lives across to them? And you know, if someone asked, so if a family asked you, what does that mean for me? How do you get that across to them? I don't think I said that very well.
Yeah, it's like that, but also what are the changes? Like it sounded like Claire had ideas, and that's what I'm interested in knowing. What is it?
So, can I try and summarise the question is, how do we get across to the citizens of Greater Manchester the changes that they'll be required to make in their lives? Is that?
And what are the changes?
And what are they? Good point. So I think part of the issue that I have with the Greater Manchester Environmental Plan is that there is no budget for any kind of mass information campaign. What we need is a public information campaign. You know, we need. This is about behaviour change, and not because it's individuals' responsibility to solve the problems that the system has created, but because behaviour change is how you then show that there is will for those wider changes. So I think we need a mass information campaign. I mean, when I think of the Imperial War Museum down at the Lowry, you know, go and have a look. Go and have a look at the Second World War campaigns around Dig for Victory, Make, Do and Mend. I mean, I'm not saying it's kind of that, the tone of that is right, but we are talking about, you know, those kind of changes. But I don't believe it's about making people feel bad and guilty. I mean, some of the changes that we're talking about are going to make, frankly, all of our lives so much more pleasant, you know. If we deal with air pollution, if we prioritise people instead of cars, what a beautiful city we're going to have. Edinburgh closing streets at the weekend because of their air pollution. What are we doing? We're not doing that. Madrid, car-free city. Oslo, car-free city. What are we doing? We're having a clean air zone that doesn't include cars.
Thank you, Claire. The lady in the red jacket.
I just want to pursue the question of the budget, because you mentioned budget for appetite for information and letting people know. But you're letting people know about something that will cost them an enormous amount of money, because people have got installed central heating systems, cooking systems, etc., that cost them a lot of money and that they now have to abandon and bring in electricity, which is at the moment generated in power stations which are themselves dirty and which need to be changed and dismantled and turned into sustainable generation. So it's a huge problem, and it is very, very expensive. On a national scale, that would take billions. Now, we need to make a demand for that money to be made available at government level, because it can't be made at this ground level.
Here, couldn't agree more. And I think 2 points on that. One is that I don't believe we in Greater Manchester have been anywhere near clear enough about what is needed from the government. And I don't believe that people are being given that information. That's what tell the truth means. And what that means is people are going to ballot boxes and voting maybe not with the full facts at their fingertips. For instance, the money that at the moment, the changes that there are no grants for, whether that's retrofitting their houses, putting in solar panels, getting rid of their gas boilers, putting in charging for their electric cars, all of these things currently unfunded. And we need to get absolutely crystal clear that we need governments that are going to do that. The second point is that we can actually raise money locally. For instance, the airport. Let's put a levy, a frequent flyer levy, on all flights coming in and out of Manchester that doesn't penalise people going on once a year holiday, but does penalise people who fly frequently. And that means that Greater Manchester can raise some money, instigate immediately a climate emergency fund, and use some of that money to help people do that, or pay for some of this information, or whatever. That's not for me to say, but I don't understand why more isn't being done to try and raise that money locally.
Thank you, Claire. So, any more questions, as I say, please do write them down. We've only got time just now for 2 questions per speaker. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to introduce Kate Lewis from the United Community Branch Climate Group, which is a man from itself. The floor is yours.
Is this on? Can you hear me? If you don't mind, I'm not going to... Can you hear me all right? I'm not going to stand up because something's happening today, which means that I've done about 16,000 steps and it hips are killing me. So I'm going to stay in my seat. So this question, I'm going to first of all start by saying it's the wrong question. Sorry, Mark. Because I don't know if any of you have heard of the Loop